Going to call the meeting to order of the LPA. We have quorum. 2 members are absent. Can I get an approval of the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes from
I'll
August
second
1st.
Okay, we have a motion to approve August 1st.
I'd
Second.
make a motion, aye.
All in favor?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of August 15th as well.
August 15th?
I'll second that.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, new business, NPH 1, Comprehensive Plan Amendment, 2309 Martin Commerce Park LLC, CPA 2309 Martin Commerce Park LLC, formerly known as Martingale Estates. This is a request by Martin Commerce Park LLC for a site-specific text amendment to Chapter 4 Future Land Use Element, Chapter 10 Sanitary Sewer Services, and Chapter 11 Potable Water Service Element, 10-year water supply facilities work plan of the Martin County Comprehensive Growth Plan. The applicant is requesting to add 167 acres to the list of exceptions to receive water and sewer services and to be designated as a freestanding urban service district. The application amends plan policies, Figure 4.2, Urban Service District, Figure 11.1, areas currently served by regional utilities, and Figure 11.2, 11-2 rather, potential service areas. The property is located east of Interstate 95 and south of Martin Highway. Samantha.
Good evening. For the record, Samantha Lovelady. I'm with Growth Management Department. As you said, this is CPA 2309 Martin Commerce Park. It's a site-specific text amendment. And it is a request to add the property to the list of exceptions for water and sewer services and to create a freestanding urban service district. It's also a request to change figures in the comp plan 4-2, 11-1, and 11-2. Is this echoing?
Yes.
Yes.
It sounds kind of cool, though.
Just hit the wah-wah pedal.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, pulled it back a little bit. Okay, the policies are 4.1B2, 4.13A10, 4.7A.3.1, 4.7A.14, 10.1A.8, and 10.1A12. We'll start with 4.1B2, and this is a list of restrictions that would be placed within the text amendment for the property. It says the following restrictions shall be applied to the tract of real property known as Martin Commerce Park, designated as industrial on the future land use map and described in ordinance number, and that ordinance number would be filled in if the future land use map amendment goes through. Residential uses will be prohibited. The maximum non-residential building square footage on the entire project is a cumulative total of 1.1 million square feet. And prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, the developer of Martin Commerce shall construct a traffic signal at the intersection of Martin Highway and Stewart West Boulevard. And the owner and developer shall plan and appropriately fund public facilities consistent with policy 4.1B2, which requires that future development pay the full cost of capital facilities needed to address the impacts of such development. This shall include an amendment to the capital improvement element, if needed, in a PUD agreement that addresses public facilities, infrastructure, and timing. Now, the rest of the proposed text changes are a lot more simple. They just add to the policies that have exceptions. For instance, on 4.7A.3.1, you would add number 4, the tract of real property known as Martin Commerce, designated as industrial on the future land use map and described in whatever ordinance if it passes. Same goes for 4.7814, same language. In 10.188, this is an excerpt where the same language is used. And then 10.1A12 is, that was a policy that allowed 7J's and Martingale Commons to have package plants, but they're not doing that because they have services that are being run out there. And so this just states package treatment plans shall be prohibited. And this is the existing 4-2. You'll notice the only freestanding urban service district is down here with the Gateway property. And this is the proposed figure 4-2 where you still see the Gateway property. But this shows the 7J's, the Ag Tech, and the proposed freestanding urban service district for Martin Commerce Park. And I just wanted to show you this graphic. It's the subject parcels in relationship to the other freestanding urban service districts, the secondary and the primary urban service district. Existing figure 11-1, which is areas currently served by regional utilities. You see that the Gateway property is shown on that. But this one also shows 7J's in the Martin Commerce Park freestanding urban service district. 11-2 is potential service areas. And this is the existing figure, same issue. And this shows the two other freestanding urban service districts. Now, I want to point out that although 4-2 shows the Ag Tech property as a freestanding urban service district, it is not in this map because this shows the Martin County utility service area. And the Ag Tech property would not be served by Martin County utilities. So that's why it's not on this map or the 11-1. Staff recommendation is for a motion to recommend approval of CPA 2309 Martin Commerce Park. And do you have any questions?
Jim,
I do.
I thought you would.
I have some questions about previous extensions of urban services outside of the primary urban service district. For instance, Jonathan Dickinson State Park and several others. There was no need to create freestanding urban service districts for those. We simply extended those services and had an exemption. Much is the same with Martingale and 7J's. 7J's is currently a freestanding urban service district. Is the proposal to actually move water and sewer from the primary urban service district into the new Commerce Park, or would it be coming from the freestanding urban service boundary district of 7J's?
It would be coming from the extension that they are currently working on.
Okay, so I guess my question is, we've asked to create a new freestanding urban service district out of 7J's and Commerce Park.
7J's is currently a
Right.
freestanding urban service district. It just was not shown on the map that way.
Okay. Why are we calling the Ag Tech a freestanding urban service district if it's not getting urban services from Martin County?
Because it's allowed to have those services, we're just not providing them.
What is the reason for having a freestanding urban service district if it's getting urban services from someplace else?
Growth Management Director Paul Schilling, for the record. Clyde can take a shot at that.
It's more than a shot.
Yeah, but in the interest
Me
of
too.
discussion this evening, I would add that the property known as AgTech has commitments from the city of Port St. Lucie to provide water and sewer service. And then the efficiency, I believe, during the application review and that and so forth, that was the manner in which it was going to be delivered to the property from the north end.
Yeah,
Yes,
that doesn't answer my question.
sorry.
Let me take a shot. The industrial future land use designation in the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan contains language that permits the creation of and establishment of a freestanding urban service district for industrial purposes and industrial uses. The AgTech future land use designation was created, and when it was written, that language also included the creation of a freestanding urban service district for it. And it is intended to be used as primarily industrial and commercial uses. The AgTech property does not permit residential uses either. So it is not a part of the primary or the secondary. Both 7Js and AgTech are existing freestanding industrial urban service districts that permit industrial development and have been permitted by the comp plan for a number of years that way. I think the distinction that was just being discussed here is the fact that certain services, specifically water and sewer, are only permitted to the AgTech property from Port St. Lucie. All other urban services, roads, and so on, police, fire, et cetera, would be provided by Martin County.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you, Clyde.
Anything else, Jim?
I-
Speak now or forever hold your
Well, we'll have the applicant speak a little bit about it, too.
Okay, not yet.
Wait, you have some questions?
Not right this second. I'll go last if you're done.
I am.
Bob? So just to clarify what Jim was getting at, even Port St. Lucie could not provide water and sewer under our code or the comp plan unless this was a freestanding urban service district. Is that correct?
For AgTech.
For AgTech?
No one could provide it unless it's a freestanding urban service.
Okay, so that's why you had to have this even though Martin County is not providing those services.
Also to allow the industrial future land use designation to be located outside the primary urban service district. That's the reason for the freestanding industrial urban service district, because industrial, like general commercial and others, are intended for the primary, but industrial has this exception allowing the industrial land use designation to go outside. This text amendment is necessary in order for the next step, and that is the future land use map amendment to assign the industrial designation outside.
Anything else? If not, Morris, you're up.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Morris Crady, senior partner with Lucido and Associates, and I do have return receipts from the notice of, this was a site-specific text amendment, so we notified for that and the land use amendment, and that includes the meeting on Tuesday, September 24th at the County Commission. Before I get into the technical merits and justification for the application, I'd like to introduce Jill Marassa, who's going to speak a little bit about the applicant, Ashley Capital, who I'm here to represent, just to give you some background on that company. Jill?
Why don't you give them the mouse?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you to staff for all your hard work. My name is Jill Marassa, for the record. I serve as Director of Development for the Treasure Coast for Ashley Capital. I'd like to take a moment just to give you a little background on Ashley Capital, but before I do, I just want to acknowledge my colleague Ryan Bloss, who is here this evening, as well as our principal of Ashley Capital, Rick Morton. So they're joining us this evening. So Ashley Capital, just a little bit about us. We've been around for 40 years. Company was founded 40 years ago by two principals. One of those principals, as I acknowledged here today. The company is an industrial development real estate firm. That's what we do. We only build industrial development. We don't step out of our lane. And we've been doing that for over 40 years. two types of properties that we're involved in. One is greenfield development, in the sense of we look at properties for long-term vision, properties that we see a vision that have not been developed, or we may find properties that have been entitled and are antiquated subdivisions and have been laying dormant, and we see a long-term vision on that as well. And another property that we also look at are brownfield developments, and those are sites like landfills or contaminated sites. And our company is an expert in that area, and we have developed, over our history, probably over 400 acres of brownfield development. So we've been in this business a long time. As a firm, we are across 5 states for properties, 6 states including land, which is Florida. So we're in Michigan, Atlanta, Georgia, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and Virginia. We have over 60 buildings on 40 properties, and we have over 32 million square feet of space. Our firm is nationally ranked across the United States. We are a top developer, a top owner, a top operator, and a top property manager. So something that differentiates ourselves from some other developers is that when we buy a property, we buy the property and we're in it for the legacy. So we buy properties, we take that property, we look at its potential, its highest and best use. We'll take that property through the entitlement process as we're doing today. We will then take that property through the site planning process and work with the local government, whether it's a county or municipality, and make sure that we're meeting the long-term goals of what they see and what works for us as well. We will then build spec. Most of the projects that we do, we'll build a spec building or two, and we will lease them up, and then we will continue on with our site plan as intended. Then we also own and manage them. So we don't go outside and get different managers. We manage them in-house, and we have been recognized for our property management skills. And so this property here, we see this as a long-term legacy project, and that is what we'd like to do. And so we appreciate your time this evening in learning about the project, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And again, my name is Morris Crady, and I'm a certified planner for the past 30 years. I've been doing land planning in Martin County since 1982. And I'm honored to be here on behalf of Ashley Capital. They are a reputable and very distinguished company. So just to give you some geographic orientation, the property is out here at I-95 and 714. This is the primary urban service district that was extended by way of the Newfield property, or which was previously known as Pineland Prairie. So I wanted just to give you an idea of the land uses in the area. Again, this is the intersection of I-95 and Martin Highway, and although it shows up as agricultural, this 32 acres here is actually a commercial land use. This property is composed of ag ranchette and agricultural land use, and we'll get into that in more detail. But this is the industrial site that was referenced as 7J's. There's also the county's landfill site up here and the Sheriff's Department shooting range. But this is a closer look, and this is the zoning map showing the commercial PUD known as Martingale Commons. And again, the zoning on the subject properties AR5, AG20A, and A2. And across the street is the Stewart West property, which is also a PUD. So Ashley purchased more than the property that we're developing or proposing this application on. It's actually the 167 acres is shown here in pink and in blue, and of the 167 acres that are included in the application, about 65 acres is part of a conservation easement and preserve area management plan that Ashley Capital spent a lot of time once they acquired the property to bring the entire property, including Martingale Commons, into compliance with the conservation easement requirements of the South Florida Water Management District and the preserve area management plan requirements of Martin County. So there's 21 platted agricultural lots on here, and we want to make clear that the agricultural land use is more than just allows for single-family homes. There is a number of non-residential uses allowed on this property under the county's AR5A, AG20A, and A2 zoning code. So all of these types of uses, from animal services to administrative and nonprofits to agricultural crops, nursery processing, dairies, community centers, kennels, mining. All of these uses are allowed in addition to single-family uses on these platted lots. And they also own a strip of about 19 acres right here that's all upland property. That's not part of any conservation easement. But to dig a little bit deeper into the commercial tract, this is the approved site plan for the 32 acres on the corner. That's called Martingale Commons. It was approved for commercial development under the expressway-oriented transient commercial allowances in the comprehensive plan, which allows for hotels, motels, gas stations, anything associated with the traveling public on I-95. And this has a long history prior to acquisition by Ashley Capital. They were entitled to build a package treatment plant to serve this project and some of the other corners as part of their original approval. Then they ran into some problems with a previous commission, and they ended up going through a lawsuit process, and that led to the county before I get to that, that led to the county finding another means other than a package plant to serve this property. So that property is located here. You know, I want to make clear that the property that we're talking about and outlined in red here is a developed subdivision. It does have paved roads. This is an existing road, and these two roads here. It's again approximately 67 acres, is under a preserve area management plan that has been complied with. And in 2017, in order to address the issue with water and sewer services to Martingale Commons, which is located on the corner here, the county commission initiated a comprehensive plan amendment to extend water and sewer services along Martin Highway to serve the Sheriff's Shooting Range, the 7J's industrial area, the landfill, and Martingale Commons. And when Ashley acquired the property, they contributed $3 million towards that extension to accommodate Martingale Commons. So this is a copy of one of the construction drawings. It shows the extension of water and sewer all the way out to Martingale Commons up to the shooting range. This project has been funded. It's under construction and due to be completed, I believe, next year. So that will bring water and sewer out to the site. The county, because of that, is updated. This is from the county's utilities website. It shows in blue here the service areas that are going to be served by that water and sewer extension. And these are, in effect, freestanding urban service districts. They're entitled to all the services that these types of non-residential uses require, mainly in industrial, but also commercial in the case of Martingale Commons. So what we're looking to do is expand that service area to include the 167 acres that are before you tonight. And that's not something that, you know, is arbitrary or unique. The existing comprehensive plan policies for industrial development allow freestanding urban service districts to be established for industrial use and for the purposes of creating labor markets and trying to open up economic development in Martin County. So areas of the county where freestanding urban services can be provided by a group of industrial users may be considered as independent or freestanding urban service districts. And they can be illustrated on Figure 4.2, which is this figure. So after consultation with the county, you know, they recognize that these other areas are freestanding urban service districts, and so we didn't want to come in here and just show you our site. We wanted to make it clear that we're not the only freestanding urban service district out here. There, you know, again, what we'll be doing is expanding the freestanding urban service district that already exists for Martingale Commons. So that's our proposal. So we'll be part of these freestanding urban service district that already exists at this interchange. And as part of that, they'll be having to pay a large chunk of money to provide water and sewer service to the proposed property. And these maps, which Samantha talked about, are the maps in Chapter 11, or Chapter 10, I believe, that shows the service areas of Martin County. So we simply updated the service areas to show what Martin County is currently providing. This is the 7J's piece. Again, we're adding our property to this map for consistency, but it shows, it has been updated to include these other parcels as well, not
I'm going to
just.
just interrupt you for a minute. So
Yeah.
what you're doing is giving us a presentation on NPH 1, NPH 2, and NPH 3 at this point? or-
Well, right now, I'm just talking about the text amendment. I'm justifying the extension, the freestanding urban service district.
So should we even be talking about the other two at this point?
Well, I'm not talking.
It's a legislative public hearing, and it's the applicant, but I don't think he's specifically talking about those
The
two.
land use
So if you're,
Yeah.
if you're fine, I'm.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, I think you're
I'm trying to give you
separating it.
context,
Okay.
really, on how we got here.
The maps that he's showing are actually text amendments.
They are.
Oh, okay.
These are
Yeah,
text.
it's, they're not, right, it's not the future land use map.
While we have you on the map, though, can I ask a question about Pineland Prairie or Newfields? That's
Yeah.
part of the primary urban service district.
Right here is.
Yeah, so, but on the previous map, it's not shown as part of the primary urban service district.
Which one?
If you go back one page,
Or another, either, I think
no.
so. It's,
one more, where we have the blue outlines for,
oh, actually, I see where they have that. Yeah, it is, right there. That's the Martin County Service Area for Pineland Prairie, which is also the limits of the primary urban service district, yeah. So it almost touches 7J's.
Okay, go ahead, Morris, I'm sorry.
So again, we went through that. So we're updating these maps, which are part of the text amendment, to identify what currently exists and what we're proposing, which is this piece right here. So, the other things to consider, there are many policies in the comprehensive plan for allocating industrial uses. And these all should be considered in the context of this text amendment. But all of them have to do with specific locational criteria that deal with the availability of water and sewer, the proximity to major transportation corridors. They should be compatible with surrounding uses. And so, the comp plan has a lot of guidelines that support making this area an industrial freestanding urban service district. They generate high levels of employment, they complement the needs of existing industry in Martin County. All of these, and probably the most important is number 4, is it contributes net revenue. Does the project contribute net revenue to Martin County, thus enhancing the county's fiscal capability? And the county is notoriously high on residential taxes and low on industrial tax revenue. So all of these are important to consider as you look at this expansion of the freestanding urban service district, the trip generation characteristics, the impact on existing and planned transportation system, employment generation. This site is located in an area where we can minimize impacts to surrounding properties. There's no adjoining residential uses. It has a preserve area management plan. We know where the wetlands are, where the upland habitat is. There's planned public services coming out to the site, and most importantly, there's an ability to connect to regional water and wastewater treatment system. And in the economic area, there's several requirements. I mean, these are not just suggestions. It says the Martin County shall encourage the retention, expansion, and attraction of targeted businesses, which is the focus of this application. It shall reduce out-commuting by supporting the creation of quality jobs within its boundaries to serve its workforce. It shall develop, maintain, and implement programs to retain, expand, and attract targeted businesses to the county. Again, in the economic element, it shall place a high priority on coordinating public infrastructure improvements that facilitate future economic development. This site was actually identified by the Business Development Board as one of those sites that can provide and implement these particular policies. The county prioritize land planning of sites with high visibility and close access to major transportation corridors. I mean, we're right on the I-95 corridor. When this site was originally designated for agricultural use, there was no I-95 corridor at that time. And it directs the county that it will consider this priority during the review of plan amendments. So, there's several economic policies that will be implemented by virtue of this application that will, in fact, create economic opportunity and offset some of the tax revenue. But another thing that this application does that no other land use application does is it's amending the text specific to this site to prohibit any type of residential use, not only by this policy, but also by a deed restriction that will be recorded. So they're not in it to change it to industrial and then try to, shove in live local or some other type of residential use on the property. That they are committed to developing Class A industrial site here. We are committing to a maximum non-residential building square footage on the entire site to no more than 1.1 million. And another requirement is that any future development of this property will be done by a planned unit development, which means you'll have a say, in the county will have a say in the types of uses. Now, we know what they want to develop, and it's nothing toward any type of general industrial. It's light industrial. It's not distribution and warehouse. So, but you can control that by virtue of a PUD application that's required before any development. And probably the most important thing that I think the most important benefit, and it's not even a PUD benefit, they're committing to this as part of the text amendment, is their intent to put a traffic light at Stewart West Boulevard and Martin Highway. And, if you've been out there, there's a high volume of truck traffic that go down the road. Well, this is something that may not be warranted, but the developer is willing to pay for it prior to any certificates of occupancy on the property, which will improve public safety for the residents of Stewart West and the traveling public on Martin Highway. And the last item, the bullet point, is just a coverall to make sure everyone understands that the county taxpayers or the county government is not required to fund any of the public services or facilities to support this project. All of the capital facilities needed to address the impacts of this development are required to be paid and completed by the owner developer. And that's, again, in the text amendment. It's not just a PUD special condition. It's something that will have to be met by virtue of the application. And the other changes that we were making that Samantha mentioned were really for internal consistency. There are several exceptions, and these other things where we're adding this particular site is really to maintain internal consistency with the comprehensive plan. And we're putting a period after prohibited. We're making it very clear, packaged treatment plants shall be prohibited, period, in Martin County. And that's because of the extension of water and sewer out to these sites. They no longer have that right, will no longer have that right to develop a packaged treatment plant under this exception. So I'll get into the land use next, but we really can't get to the land use until we get the text amendment. So I just want to reiterate that we have an opportunity here with Ashley Capital, and it doesn't come around very often, to develop this property in a sensitive manner, consistent with the county's environmental requirements. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars cleaning up the site that was left by the previous owner. It was full of exotic vegetation and debris that has been cleaned up. They want to create a premier light industrial park that will enhance the neighborhood with investments, traffic, water, and sewer. They're going to bring high-wage jobs and capital investment to Martin County. And by virtue of maintaining compliance with the PAMP and the conservation easements, I think they're going to enhance and maintain Martin County's green infrastructure. So with that understanding, we'll be glad to answer any questions. Like I said, we have our team here.
Okay, Jim, go for it with the whole team at once now.
Well, no, I think we got to keep individual items separately.
No,
Yeah.
on this item, but if you want anyone else to come up.
I have to preface this by saying that I did meet with Jill Marusco and Ryan and Stacy Ranieri about this about a week ago, and I'll have to tell you also that I've had many sleepless nights because of it. Are you willing to put into this freestanding urban service district that no urban service district services will be provided beyond this?
I don't know how we do that.
I don't think we can control that.
Well, you can write that in if you want to add additional safety, but it's already, if there isn't a specific exception written into the plan, that's a given. You can't extend to other areas.
Well, I mean, we've extended water and sewer from another freestanding urban service district out to the ranch.
No,
We aren't?
that's not a freestanding, the ranch is not a freestanding urban service.
No, but we are extending water and sewer from a freestanding urban service district to them.
It's an exception. It's part of the rural lifestyle future land use designation. It's not related to this.
This is my problem. We now have a very permeable rule about our urban service district. And we've come up with exceptions that frankly indicate to me sprawl. And this is a real concern.
Each and every property that has water and sewer is getting it via specific text placed into the comprehensive plan.
You want to cross-examine him after you do Morris?
Well, you know, what we're doing is we're creating new exceptions annually. So that's, I mean, that's one of my primary issues. The other, you know, this makes more sense when we start talking about how to hook up Stewart West and Cobblestone, but that's not part of the plan. That's not part of the proposal. That's not, they're left out of this. And I'm not sure that that's right. I'm not sure that it's the way we should be planning. I think that, you know, before rural land use amendments started to move forward at an accelerating rate, we had proposals to do some actual workshopping about what the future of these places is. And it really bothers me that we're not doing that. And that's, you know, I do see merit in having light industrial out on I-95. I do see merit in this proposal. I'm just really worried that we're not planning in a unified way and that we are backing into proposals that are going to have massive impact. And I'm not sure that the infrastructure that we have is really up to this.
Well, the water and sewer wouldn't be in front of Stewart West if not for this project.
Well, it was going to be extended to Martingale
Well,
regardless.
yeah, but they had to pay for it. Martingale Commons had to pay for it, you know, in Ashley Capital.
Through a lawsuit.
But the bill, no, that was before Ashley Capital, all that.
No, I understand, but Martingale was going to be provided water and sewer because of a lawsuit.
Right, well, because they had they were entitled to build a package plant, and then that went away somehow. I don't know the detail. I wasn't involved with all that, but I
That's
just know.
not really pertinent.
Yeah,
Elise.
yeah. I don't know, yeah. But I just know Ashley Capital came in later and cleaned up that mess and made it happen, actually made the extension happen. So it is in front of Stewart West now, and you know, it's a big project to, you know, serve that project. And, you know, I don't know, it's up to them if they want the service. It's really not up to us, you know, there's a capital expense there, you know, and it's really part of the county's plan, I think, in the future should be to service that, but they got to find the funds to do it.
Okay.
Is that it, Jim?
Yeah.
Bob?
I think that we really need some we need industrial tax roll. We don't have it here. I'm not looking for us to become Boca. We never will be. We have 48% of our land here is already held by conservation. But that land, I went out there twice this week and looked at it, and gas stations belong along 95 because cars are driving by there. And has anyone talked to the residents near there to see how they feel?
Oh, yeah, we've had two community workshops with Stuart West and Cobblestone at their clubhouse. So each time we had over 125 people in attendance. So Ashley Capital did a great job of making themselves known to that community, and and they, for the most part, they've been supportive. I'm sure there's some people here that will speak against it, but, we see this, it's not in their backyard, it's across the highway. And, one of the benefits is this traffic signal that's going to help them get out of their project and slow traffic down in front of their project. So,
Thank you.
Could you pull up again what can be done on this property right now? The list of uses?
let me see if I can get back there. Well, I'm going to have to,
Here, Morris.
I'm slow.
Let me help.
can you do it? Okay, there you go. It was at the beginning.
It's easier to go back when your arrow up, but you don't have that.
There we go.
Here we go. So, we could have airstrips. We could have crops, nursery, and storage. We could have animal services, hunting, and sanctuaries. We could have administrative and nonprofit agriculture. Bed and breakfasts, daycare, family care, cemeteries, crematoriums, columbariums, I don't even know what that is, community centers, golf courses, parks, dairies, feedlots, kennels, commercial, mining, places of worship, recycling drop-off centers, yard trash processing, residential single-family homes, modular homes and mobile homes, shooting ranges, outdoor, shooting clay courses, solar farms, and utilities. That's what could be used right now. Is that correct, Morris?
Yes, sir.
And what you're proposing what again?
Light industrial buildings that are specifically going to be developed by Ashley, operated by Ashley, and managed by Ashley.
Well, under light industrial,
Right.
what are the uses? I know we don't have a slide, I understand that.
Well, yeah, but the light industrial, we can't really access those uses because we're committing to doing a PUD as part of the text amendment. So we are going to rezone on an interim basis to limited industrial, but to develop the site, we have to do a PUD.
So you're going to come back here with a site plan, a specific site plan, not to the commission, actually, I guess,
Yeah.
with a specific site plan with what you want to put on this property and use this property for, correct?
Yeah.
I agree with my colleagues. We don't plan in this county. I don't know why we don't plan in this county, but individual projects on individual pieces of property without anyone knowing what's going to be there tomorrow is not a good way to run a county. And the commission has continuously not wanted to have real comprehensive planning. And it's not staff's fault, and it's not the residents' fault. The commission just refuses to do that, and that's not right. And I just think it's lousy way to go about doing things. And I hope that sometime soon, they will take a larger view of what's left and plan appropriately so that we don't have to fight every time somebody wants to do something, because it will be known what can be done. I'm going to call a public unless you have anything else?
I agree with you.
100%.
Okay. Now, I have people who want to speak on 1, 2, and 3. If you want to speak on anything else, I have you listed. I'm going to need another card at some point. Okay? Okay, first one, Jesse J. Griffin.
Just a reminder, members of the public, you have 3 minutes. When you hear the beep, your time will be up.
Thank you. My name is Jess Griffin. I've been a resident of Stewart West in Martin County for almost 17 years. There's a lot of talk about infrastructure, about water. And by the way, I think Mr. Morton and most of his group are a class act. So I want to go on the record on that, even though I peacefully disagree with how this whole process is being fast-tracked. You talk about public safety, but the simple fact is the critical infrastructure, if you're building stuff for Martin County to go on a 2-lane road, okay, we've been a gridlock many hours of the day for a long time already. And to build this type of center when you don't have 4 lanes on both ways, the full access just seems, quite frankly, nonsensical to me. Not too many months ago, the staff wrote a detailed report, which I read, that was against this. One of the primary takeaways I took was that it was urban sprawl. I don't see this being addressed at all. And there is a change of government coming very quickly, and I don't understand why this has to be fast-tracked as a resident who lives here. And I will add, the tax base, people like to talk about industrial, but the tax base coming out of Stewart West and Cobblestone is pretty significant to this community. And I don't think that, Mr. Muir, and I can't say your names, I can't see that well, sir, but I appreciate your comments because I feel like you're looking out for the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanda Truba. If I say your name wrong,
Good evening. My name's Wanda Truba, and I'm a Stewart West resident. I've gotten a lot of my questions answered already tonight, and had several of them answered when Ashley Capital came out and spoke at our clubhouse on 2 different occasions. But since then, we've had a house of worship by the property and then I'm really bad in directions, but I'm going to say the north side of the property of which Ashley is proposing tonight. It is a complete sale, and construction on this house of worship will probably go underway in the next couple of years. That being said, and this red light obviously is an enhancement for everyone involved. They are already having issues with entering their property from Martin Highway and exiting their property back to Martin Highway through land that we enter as neighbors in Stewart West and Cobblestone. So having them already with this issue and working through that process, I would ask if we've considered that in addition, because as Jess Griffin said, this 2-lane highway, it's going to get super crowded. There are school buses, obviously emergency equipment that needs to get through there, and it's a big concern. So I'd like to go on record as asking council to see if you've considered, number one, the new house of worship that has come in since they've last spoken to us. Thank you.
thank you. Here's a name, Dan Hudson. Your writing is almost as bad as mine. I was going to call you Kleitzen until I saw where you were from.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
I wouldn't.
I'm Dan Hudson. I'm here tonight representing the Business Development Board. I have a long involvement with business development from my days in county government and also as Stewart City Manager. And most recently, they called me out of retirement to serve as interim executive director. I don't need to recite the economic element of the comprehensive plan. That was reviewed with you earlier, but there's one quote in it that I love. It says, "A strong economy naturally supports quality communities, and in turn, quality communities help maintain a strong economy." And so that's really, we're about quality of life here in Martin County. We believe this project supports quality of life. So if you're not familiar with the BDB, it's a public-private partnership that's kind of its purpose is to guide and direct economic development within Martin County. And we're kind of a boots-on-the-ground operation. We work directly with businesses to help facilitate their transactions. What I'm here for is to really just kind of reiterate the fact that the application has gone through a well-thought-through planning process. Probably about 3 years ago, the Business Development Board developed a set of what we call hubs of excellence. The word hub is used in economic development because businesses tend to congregate together in close proximity to each other. And this intersection of 714 and I-95 is one of those hubs of excellence. That was presented to the Board of County Commissioners, and you have in your packet a letter from county government reiterating that those are the priorities, and this particular project was specifically named in that set of priorities. And so what you see here is the outcome of that kind of direction that's been moving along. So just let me give you a quick conclusion. Again, we're here to support the recommendation to approve the project. One of the most important things that government can do is assure that there's adequate supply of commercial industrial properties available. Government can't go out and create businesses, but what you can do is make sure that the land is available there to meet the demand that exists. And so, again, this is just the result of a carefully thought through planning. It's not being rushed through. It's been thought about for years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Rory Mars.
Hi, staff. Thank you for having us tonight. My name's Rory Marr. I live in Stewart West. The bottom of my driveway is about 800 yards as the crow flies from the entrance to this proposed project. So like many from the nearly 500 homes in Stewart West and Cobblestone combined, I've had many conversations with neighbors, and there is a lot of concern just about this overall proposal and the impacts that it would have both on our property values and just our quality of life. We've lived in this neighborhood for close to 10 years. We chose it because of the more rural nature, being in the more western part of Martin County, and the fact that much of the surrounding land was zoned either ag or ag ranchette, and we thought that the Martin County Comprehensive Growth Management Plan would preserve that. That was a huge reason that we bought where we bought. I understand that growth is inevitable, right? But I also believe that residents should have a voice in how property that is directly right next to us should be developed, right? I personally don't believe that an industrial park with over 1 million square feet of floor space is compatible for property that's currently zoned for, residential homes on 5-acre lots. Our neighborhoods, Stewart West, it's very unique. It's sought after by people looking for those larger lots, wildlife, open spaces, and privacy. It's one of the few larger equestrian communities in Martin County. Right now, property values are strong in the neighborhood. We have 500 homes. Recent sales are averaging over $1 million. And, our stance is that this project will forever change the character of the area with this constant commercial vehicle traffic, and be a significant deterrent to people who might want to purchase property in our neighborhood. I can tell you personally, if my wife and I were shopping 10 years ago and there was this industrial park across the street, there's 0% chance we would have bought here. So again, I just want to thank you for your time. Please keep the local residents and neighbors in your consideration as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Donna Calabrese.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to address you folks tonight. I have some comments and I have some questions. If any of my questions can't be answered tonight, I respectfully request that I receive an answer prior to these items going to the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Donna Calabrese. I live at 9802 Southwest Santa Monica. I'm a Stewart West resident. I'm also a member of the board of the Property Owners Association. I spent some time reading the March 5th report and the current report dated in September, and spent a lot of time looking at the differences. So we got the notice about the BOCC meeting on 9/12 for a meeting on 9/24. This planning meeting is happening today on the 19th, and we go into the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday. It appears to me that that's an accelerated schedule, and I'm concerned. Why is it happening? What the sense of urgency is. I think we all deserve an opportunity to digest everything that's discussed tonight before we go before the Board of County Commissioners, so that we are as well-informed as possible to make our case. So I'm going to go on the record to say I respectfully request that this first item, 2309, text amendment, be moved from the September 24th BOCC meeting to a date certain that is after the new board is seated. Mr. Campenny, I appreciate your comments about how we plan in Martin County. I think we all know that community sentiment has changed over time. I've been a member of the Treasure Coast since 1985. And what we've seen recently is we've seen the Danforth folks not happy with having a multi-family properties across the street from them. So we had a lot of interest there. We've had elections that recently happened, and we're going to change out the board, some of the members of the board. And I think what we've seen is that people are looking for folks that are a little more thoughtful about development. So for those reasons, I think we need to wait until the new board is seated. Let me just check one thing here, because I got lots of sticky notes. I've read and heard different things. I read that the traffic light was going to go in prior to occupancy. Then tonight I heard it was going to go in prior to construction. So I kind of want to know which one we're picking. Personally, I think it should go in prior to construction if we move forward. Also, right now, we're at 1.1 million square feet of warehouses or light industrial. When we have a PUD, they can come back in and request additional feet, square footage, okay? So we want that on the record. We need to understand, yes or no?
Your time is up, ma'am. Thank you very
Ms.
much.
Calabrese. I'm going to ask, we don't answer questions, but I'm going to ask that Mr. Schilling get with you, or contact, or have someone from your staff contact and answer whatever questions she had.
But those questions that you already asked, we can certainly ask the applicant to answer.
We can do that afterwards, but please take your seat now. Ted Astolfi.
Said it exactly right. Good evening, my name is Ted Astolfi. I'm here on behalf of the Economic Council of Martin County. I usually don't do this, but I'm going to read this to keep in my 3 minutes. So, there's many different Christian religions that follow the scriptures of the Bible, each using its own interpretations. In Martin County, the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan is often referred to as the Bible of development in our community. In similar fashion as with religions, the Martin County Bible is interpreted by many groups, each in its own way. So today, as you decide which interpretation of our Martin County Bible you're going to follow, consider the many ways in which you can read the words and teachings within the comprehensive plan. Support for different religions and their beliefs fall in and out of favor among populations. In similar fashion, the politics of Martin County appear to be changing with the new interpretation of our Bible, leaning towards what I refer to as 20:24, taxes shall not be added or increased, saith the people. The question that must be answered now is, how do we interpret this? And how can this be achieved while maintaining the paradise we call Martin County? Should we allow ourselves to be taxed for a just cause? Preservation of green pastures, for example? How can we achieve such a heavenly objective with ever-increasing costs of government by way of higher costs of living, inflation, and increased wages, not to mention lifetime pensions for those government employees that retire? I would submit to you today that the only solution is to follow the writings of chapter 15 in our Bible, the Comprehensive Plan. Note the passages that talk of economic development, diversifying the tax base, the addition of non-residential properties that will insulate the homeowner from the burden of increased taxes. I direct you to the following verses, some of which Morris mentioned in chapter 15. Policy 15.3, 8.3, Martin County shall prioritize the land planning of sites with high visibility and close access to major transportation corridors for development as employment uses, including targeted businesses, office and industrial developments. It will consider this priority during the review of plan amendments, rezoning requests, site plan approvals, and permitting processes. Policy 15.3, 8.4, Martin County should consider the high priority of retaining employment-generating land uses in appropriate and compatible locations in the county, and shall consider this priority during the review of plan amendments, rezoning requests, site plan reviews, and permitting processes. Policy 15.3, 8.5, Martin County shall ensure that adequate land and transportation capacity is available for present and future land uses that generate high-paying jobs such as office, industrial, research and development, and employment center uses. Policy 15.3, B.5, Martin County shall work to increase job opportunities within the county and support the existing workforce and industry sectors. This effort is aimed at addressing the reduction of employment opportunities in the county, which contributes to economic leaking as residents are forced to work outside the county. So I ask you to consider these existing policies in our Sacred Comprehensive Plan and support these policies as they're written.
Thank you.
Father Astolfi.
Thank you.
Very clever.
Jeff Chamberlain, please.
Hello, board members. Jeff Chamberlain from local commercial real estate broker here, resident of Martin County since 1989. I've been assisting businesses in Martin County for the last 35 years. And I can tell you that supply has always been the issue in Martin County. We never have enough supply to meet the demand of the business community here. And businesses have had to continuously look elsewhere for space, even though they'd really rather be here. We helped a company a few years ago called Sunlast Metals that was located in Palm City that was looking for additional space. We ended up locating them in St. Lucie West because we couldn't find the suitable space for them. There's a number of existing parks, many of which are primarily built out at this time. The US 1 Commerce Avenue corridor, the Treasure Coast Commerce Center, Jack James corridor is built out. Indiantown offers solutions for some, but don't work for many, due primarily to mileage and distance, from the interstates. Sands Commerce Center in Palm City's kind of been the only game in town, but they're constantly full. Every time they build a new phase, they fill up, so they're really don't have any current supply, in place. So, and the Gateway project off of Canner, those are very large buildings. They're not really catering to the small business that tends to operate in Martin County, anywhere from 5,000 to 150,000 square feet. And so this is a project that we really need here in the county. We need a commerce park that will provide businesses with an alternative in that size range. We need a professional campus that will appeal to the corporate tenant. We really don't have that type of park here in Martin County currently. And we need a corporate park that'll be near a 995 interchange so as to not impact the local roads, keep the trucks and trailers off the local roads. Commerce parks do pay their way, and that's been stated tonight. They pay significant impact fees. They pay for off-site improvements like traffic lights. They pay lots of real estate taxes. They pay lots of tangible personal property taxes on their equipment and their machinery. They fund the schools, and guess what? They don't send kids to school, but they do pay taxes that go to the schools. So that's kind of a nice deal for the schools. They do provide jobs for Martin County residents. They provide minimal impact on law enforcement, parks, libraries, beaches, and boat ramps. Only residents can do that. So do we really need another 5-acre
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak on NPH 1? Okay, back to the board. Morris, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to, again, for the record, Morris Cray, just a couple of comments I want to make in response to the public comment. We've been in the process for over 2 years now, so it's not something that's been rushed. And the March report that the county initially issued, we spent a lot of time responding to those comments and, provided additional information that got us to this point today. We voluntarily sent a letter to the Cobblestone and Stewart West POA. They're not within the radius of the project that requires notification. So the letter that they got was a voluntary letter from Ashley Capital that put them on notice that we're going to these meetings. But we did advertise, and the county advertised in accordance with their code requirement, which is 14 days prior to this hearing. And I want to make very clear that this church that they're speaking of, this revived church, is on the Stewart West PUD property on the other side of the road. It's not within our property or adjacent to our property. And, that's, I think, one of the benefits of having a traffic light there is that, that's going to take care of some issues if that project gets developed. I'm not sure if it's going to get developed. I'm not working on it. But I do think the traffic light will help. And there is no current capacity issue for Martin Highway, although it is in a plan for 4-laning under the DOT's long-range plan. So there is a future development when it's warranted. But we're going to do the traffic light even though it's not warranted by traffic capacity. Okay?
Thank you, Morris. Jim, do you want to?
Yeah, well, I had another question for staff. There was a comment in the package from staff about transportation issues, and it was a negative comment, and I don't have it with me
You want to
because
pull up?
Is that in the other?
I think it's in the third package. But it's in reference to,
In the future land use?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a future land use element.
Yeah, that, if we're going to look at that, we have to look at it at the next public hearing, not this public hearing, because it's not part of this public hearing.
But it's germane, and that's the problem. It's about planning.
I don't think we should have talked about the flume throughout this thing, but.
We haven't, the maps weren't the flume maps, so I think we're fine on that, but we can't bring it in now.
And- All right, so, anything else, Jim?
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay, here's the thing. We can't look at the church. We're not even supposed to know there is such a thing. We only know because we're part of the community, too. We can't mix apples and oranges. As far as road is concerned, we can't look at capacity whether this project or 3 other projects are coming down the road, and whether we will have a problem with that. That's a completely separate thing than this. We have no control over when things come to us, nor when they go to the commission. So when we see them, we act on them. We don't make the agenda. Yeah, I would have liked to see like 2 weeks pass between when we see something and the commission sees something. But, once again, we don't control that. We just move on. And I want to applaud Ashley Capital for notifying groups outside of the area, outside of what they have to do by law. I think we should expand the notification part so that more people would know about projects before, so that they could also comment. With that said, and no one else has anything, I'll entertain any motions.
staff light, please.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you permit, staff would like to reiterate a couple of things from our presentation and perhaps address a couple of the comments that were raised here tonight.
Thank you.
On the screen, you see proposed text. We call this a sub-area policy. Under B, the proposed text of the plan would say, the maximum non-residential building square footage in the entire project shall be limited to a cumulative total of 1.1 million square feet. And a planned unit development, if one were approved following all of the hearings being considered tonight and by the board in the future, a planned unit development could not exceed that. This is a restriction applied in the comp plan, and the PUD would have to be consistent with that. So that was one of the questions raised during the public comment. Another one, I believe, is D. Prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, the owner-developer of the Martin Commerce Park shall construct a traffic signal at the intersection of Martin Highway and Stewart West Boulevard. So to give everyone an understanding, if you get site plan approval, and I'm talking about after a number of other steps that we haven't even gotten to yet, the site would have to be developed in terms of the horizontal construction of infrastructure for things like stormwater and utilities and paving and grading and so on like that. And then you have the individual structures that get permitted on individual portions of the site. And before the certificate of occupancy for the first one is issued, I believe it does say that, right?
Yes,
Before the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy. So you'd have construction of the site, horizontal construction, but you wouldn't get your first building permit issued without the traffic signal. So hopefully that clarifies those, at least two of those questions.
Certificate of
Occupancy.
I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. Before the certificate of occupancy. So a building permit could be issued, but the certificate of occupancy on the building permit could not be.
Which means nobody could occupy anything until the traffic
Right.
light is there. Okay? If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion.
I'll motion to accept MPH 1.
Jim, will you second that?
I'm not going to second it. I really want to have more review and public input into planning in this node. I'm concerned about a lot of things, but I'm mostly concerned about the fast tracking of this and not that Ashley is moving too quickly or Morris is moving too quickly, but you know, I got this package last week late. I think probably Friday, and it's a big issue. And I just don't think that this county at this point should be barreling headlong into changing the gateways of Martin County, changing the way we do our urban planning. And I think this is, you know, the idea of restricting live local here is concernful to me. I think that there are issues.
Jim, let's get a motion. I'll put it
Okay.
past the gavel
Right.
to you, and then you.
Okay, the gavel's been passed.
Okay, I'll second
Okay.
the motion.
So we have a motion and a second, and we will just
You can
finish.
go on with your discussion.
No.
I think Elise wanted to say something.
Lisa, you wanted to say something?
Going to say, if you wanted a second, or have a new
Right.
motion, you have to pass the gavel.
Yeah, so we've done that.
You're good.
And is there any discussion? Any further discussion?
Not that you're looking for my suggestions, but maybe push that traffic light up sooner rather than later to help the residents there.
It's the lanes that's the problem.
And again, you're absolutely right, Jim. This has not been rushed because I didn't disclose it because that comes under NPH 3, but I met with Jill Marassa, I'm going to say 6 months ago on this project. So it's not like it's something new. It's been bubbling up for a long time. Again, it may seem like it's rushed. It isn't. I wish we had gotten the packet earlier. I don't know why everything's got to be so jumbled, because it takes a while to read these damn things. And so, and I'm also going to say, if I had questions, since I read it on I think Monday, and I spoke to a few people, but I just would like to have more time to think about things. And if you could get it to us sooner, And the comments, if you can get us comments sooner. I mean, I'm reading them 5 minutes before the meeting.
May I try to address some of your?
Sure.
A couple things. One is we get comments, we're probably getting comments right now. So we do our best to print those out, to get them to you on the dais the evening, so we encompass everything. We're getting them nonstop on multiple projects.
I know. So let me
That
ask you a
being said, but
question.
From the perspective of getting the application materials to you, we do our very best. You know, Joan in my office and Rebecca here. The team works very, very hard. We at times also have people out of the office or whatever the case is, and life happens, but we do our best with that.
And I think you do.
Thank you.
I'm not knocking, this is going to go, people have said it's going to go to the commission on Tuesday, and you're asking us to discuss it tonight. So everyone's under a bigger time squeeze than maybe we need to be. As far as comment, we all have emails from the county. Why can't they just be passed through as they come through our emails to us? That's why we got the emails, I thought.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm gonna say we have the tools. We just need to use the tools so that we could have these comments as they come in to you and make everyone's life easier, because then you wouldn't have to print them to bring them. Again, this is all staff's problem.
I agree with that.
So,
So we'll figure it out.
Yes.
We'll discuss your suggestions and figure out
Okay.
what we can and can't do.
okay, that, I have nothing else, Jim.
Okay, so we have a motion, we've had a few comments. I agree with you 100%, Tom. But I also think that the community needs to be more engaged in this, because this affects us all. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I am opposed. Motion carries 2-1.
Okay? Back over.
You can have your hammer back.
Okay, thank you. All right, NPH 2, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2310, Martin Commerce Park LLC Flume, request to consider a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, changing the future land use from agriculture and agricultural ranches to industrial. The subject property is a 167-acre property located east of Interstate 95 and south of Southwest Martin Highway. It is adjacent to the Martingale Commons Plan Unit Development. The 167 acres previously received site plan approval and plat approval as a subdivision of agricultural and agricultural ranchette lots called Martingale Estates. Staff.
Good evening, members of the LPA. For the record, this is Samantha Lovelady with Growth Management. As you said, this is a request by Martin Commerce Park LLC. It's a proposed future land use map amendment to change 167 acres from agricultural and agricultural ranchette to industrial. This is the existing future land use. You see ag ranchette here and agricultural here. This is the proposed industrial future land use shown here. And as you stated, it's east of I-95, south of Martin Highway. You just heard the item for the separate text amendment, CPA 2309. And there's 3 sets of criteria for changing the future land use map. And in section 2.1, if staff cannot find one of these 4 criteria that is met, then they can't recommend approval at all. The 2 of the 4 criteria have been met for those. And there are 13 criteria for urban sprawl, and they meet 8 out of the 13. Section 2.2.1, proliferation of sprawl, 4 out of 8 criteria have been met. Staff recommends approval of CPA 2310 Martin Commerce Park.
Okay,
Can
Jim?
Can I ask a question about why Martingale, the piece between 714 and 95 is not included in the future land use amendment?
It's already a freestanding, it's already got commercial on it.
But it stays agricultural on the future land use.
Right, but it is part of a freestanding urban service district.
I'm just curious why it's not included in the future land use change.
Paul, do you want to add something?
Yes, sir. So that's the parcel that has the existing commercial PUD that's vested, if you will, that has been there for decades. So there's no requirement to change that. That is acknowledged and
I thought that the part of the plan on the comp plan amendment at the, was it the land development regulations was to actually comply or to bring all of these land uses up to compliance with category C as
Paul, do you
land
want to just
development.
introduce yourself? You neglected to do that.
Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director, for the record. Thank you, Mr. Campanelli.
Clyde Doolin, Comprehensive Planning Administrator for the record. What we're talking about on that one parcel of 32 acres that you're referring to, Mr. Moore, is a remnant of the old expressway-oriented transient commercial service center. It was a land use designation listed in the comprehensive plan when it was in the comprehensive plan, but it always functioned more as an overlay than as anything else. That language that was in the plan did not require the underlying future land use to be changed. It just acted as an overlay. It was a hatching, actually, or a diamond that was actually shown on the future land use map to identify all four corners of the intersection. That's gone away. That text has been removed from the plan. That PUD is the remnant of that past circumstance. If you go to Cantor Highway and State Road 70, same thing. I-95 and Cantor Highway, there is I believe it's the Dunkin' Donuts and the gas station and so
Still a
on.
node of transportation, yeah.
They too have a residential estate density future land use, but that part of it is in an expressway-oriented transit commercial center that was that earlier remnant. And
But
so
this
you
would
have
be-
that same circumstance.
This would become part of the PUD anyway, so its future land use would be controlled by the PUD that we have yet to see. No?
They're two separate PUDs.
They
There
are.
would be two separate PUDs. There's a PUD already on the 32 acres, and there would be a future PUD if all of this is approved for the industrial freestanding urban service.
Would there be a unity of those PUDs at some point? Are we going to cancel the PUD that exists on that property?
They would be standalone unless the applicant sought to do otherwise.
For clarity, again, Morris Crady for Ashley Capital. There's no intention of developing that site under this Martin Commerce Park. That's going to stand alone as a expressway-oriented transient commercial under its existing PUD allowances, and it will probably be sold to a third party because Ashley Capital doesn't build that type of.
Gas station.
Yeah, right.
Anything else, Jim?
No.
Okay. Bob?
No, sir.
Okay, I mean, I think we've gone through this previously, so I don't know if I have any other questions.
Just wanted to make sure the applicant doesn't have a presentation.
Public?
Yeah. Okay, I have two cards for NPH2. Wanda Troba. Wanda left. Donna Calabrese.
Thank you again for the opportunity. to speak. Donna Calabrese, I'm a resident of Stewart West. I need to make a statement that the presidents of the two homeowners associations were supposed to get letters about this meeting. That did not happen. Okay? I asked the president of Stewart West if he got a letter. It did not happen. We got copies from our residents that are within the distance required for notification. In discussion earlier, when I talked about fast tracking, what I'm talking about is the time between this meeting and the Board of County Commissioners meeting, not what Ashley's doing, okay? I want to make sure that the community and those of us that are interested get to hear everything that's said, digest it, and get our questions answered. And I look forward to hearing from staff prior to the BOCC meeting, should it happen next week. In light of that, I respectfully request that this agenda item be moved from the September 24th BOCC meeting to a date certain that is after the new Board of County Commissioners is seated. Okay. As regards the flume, 23-10, so I looked at the one that came out in March and the one that came out in September, and Samantha and I had a discussion the other day. The criterion are objective and measurable, right? So when you have a March report and it says we do not recommend approval, then you have a September report that says we recommend approval. There are changes. Things changed. I'm not sure what they are, so these are some things that maybe you can answer for me. In Section 2.2 under urban sprawl, Roman numerals 2, 3, and 6 have changed. And in 2.21, there were two changes, Roman numeral 2 and Roman numeral 6. So I'm hoping that I can get an answer as to, what caused the, encouraged sprawl, discouraged sprawl, what caused those to change. Also, there's a March 5th traffic engineering memorandum that had a worst case of 1,440 peak hour trips. And then later he says, based on 1 million square footage, we're going to have 479 peak hour trips. So I'm not sure how that's calculated. So I really don't understand how many peak hour trips we're going to have in and out of this parcel. And I would like somebody to help me understand that. And I will again ask about the traffic light, before construction begins or before occupancy. And I would like to note that the two-lane highway, Martin Highway, when we have an accident on I-95, traffic is rerouted to the Turnpike. They are all on Martin Highway. It takes me 40 minutes, best scenario, to get from Stewart West to the Publix on Martin Downs Boulevard. So we do have some capacity issues now, and I'm sorry that we can't deal with it here, but I want to be on record.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on NPH 2? Seeing none, comes back to the board. Jim?
Yeah, I'm curious about the difference in staff reports between March and the most recent one.
Excuse me. Staff made a recommendation of denial, and then with the applicant, that's when they brought forward the traffic light and the condition for the capital facilities that they would have to pay for, and that satisfies staff's concerns.
Okay, so it was the paying for the water and sewer extension and the traffic light that we've agreed is going to be before the first certificate of occupancy.
Correct.
Anything else, Jim?
No, I'm still concerned about separating the two uses and when things like that happen.
Bob?
I'm good.
Can I hear from Susan on that traffic count?
Susan O'Rourke, O'Rourke Engineering and Planning, a TMC company, for the record. So the issue was that staff had calculated the maximum, but they didn't consider that we had a cap on it. So we had a cap of 1.1 million. So what's in the traffic study is, I think, the number 203 peak hour, peak direction. So it's in that 400 range, as opposed to staff had originally, done the math on number of acres times 43,560 square feet, came up with a big number. So we talked that through, and
But that's based on a limited industrial. Is there also a large-scale gas facility included in those traffic counts?
we've got, right now, it'll be a PUD. So what we've got is the maximum under limited industrial and what would be typical. And then when it gets to the PUD, we'll drill down on any specific uses, and concurrency will have to be met on those specific uses.
but that's after this has already been approved.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works, unfortunately. Just for the record, you're a traffic engineer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That way, the public knows.
Yes, I'm a
what you're
registered
qualified.
professional engineer in the specialty of traffic engineering.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Any other questions for anyone? I'll take a motion.
Are we passing the gavel? Okay.
Well, all right, now you'll take the motion.
I'll motion to accept MPH2.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a
Approve.
second. Do we have any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I'm opposed. Motion passes 2-1.
Okay. Next, comprehensive plan amendment, Martin Commerce Park, rezoning, quasi judicial. Do I have a cheat sheet somewhere?
Yeah.
Rezoning, this is a request by Martin Commerce Park LLC to change the zoning district from AG 20A to AR5A to limited industrial district or the most appropriate zoning district on 167 acres. The property is located east of Interstate 95 and south of Martin Highway. Do any of my colleagues have ex parte
I need to
communication?
divulge an ex parte communication. I met with Jill Marasco, Ryan, and Stacy Ranieri last week about this.
Bob?
As did I.
I met with Jill Marassa earlier this year. Are there any interveners?
There are no interveners?
Can all parties testifying stand and be sworn in?
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, staff presents.
Okay, again, for the record, Samantha Lovelady with Martin County Growth Management. This is a rezoning for Martin Commerce Park, along with the CPA 23-10. It's a request by Martin Commerce Park LLC. It's a request to change the zoning atlas on 167 acres from A2, AG20A, and AR5A to LI Limited Industrial. This is the existing zoning. This is the proposed zoning with the light industrial. And I wanted to show you the table of permitted uses that are attached with the zoning. You can tell me to go down when you're ready.
I'm ready. One second.
Yep.
Ready, guys?
See, there, if you note, there's no extensive impact industries there. And there's also no mining or salvage yards or yard trash processing, which was allowed on the agricultural use. And here's our targeted industry uses. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay, so with that, staff recommends approval of the rezoning from A2, AG20A, and AR5A to LI Limited Industrial.
Okay. Jim, before Morris, Jim, any questions for staff?
No.
Bob, I have no questions either. Applicant.
Yeah, again, for the record, Morris Crady, on behalf of Ashley Capital. And it's just really an interim zoning district that where we chose the limited industrial to be consistent with the industrial land use, but we can't develop anything under the limited industrial. We have to, when we go to an actual development plan, we have to rezone to PUD in order to develop anything because of the text restriction. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. So we need to acknowledge that the applicant turned in the receipts, the mailing.
He did that first.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
turned in with
We turn it on
with the
first.
notice. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for? None? Jim? Go ahead, Jim, ask one question. It wouldn't be you without at least one question.
Well, I mean, I think that the PUD is going to have a lot of those restrictions included in it, and we've sort of moved forward with a zoning conditional on the changes already granted by those, and that's concernful to me. I'd rather see it unified.
I'm going to say, I agree with you. I wish there were a different way that we do things than we do, but this is the way we do them, unfortunately. Public comment?
But a PUD is a zoning category, and we
Well-
could actually approve it as a PUD.
We could, but then we would have a problem for it to go up to the commission, wouldn't we?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if we actually had a PUD and we discussed it and we planned it the way it can be done, we wouldn't have this issue.
I don't disagree with you, but that's not the way it's presented to us here.
I get it, but that's why I'm
Yeah, that's why,
complaining.
that's why I wish we would have a different system.
Mr. Chairman, may
yes.
I?
You may.
You will, this board will be reviewing a future PUD on this very site, should it be successful at the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday. There will be a full PUD application with a master plan, conditions, and so forth and so on.
Thank you. Okay, I have two for NPH 3, Donna Calabrese.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I respectfully request that this agenda item be moved from the September 24th Board of County Commission meeting to a date certain that is after the new board is seated. I do want to follow up on an item from the Flume. I'm not sure I understand how a traffic light impacts the criteria for urban sprawl or proliferation of urban sprawl. So I'm hoping to get an answer for that, because Samantha, I know you told me that the other day, but I don't know how it impacts those criterion. I have this rezoning package that I got a while back, it's dated March 5th. Is there one from September? Because I was not able to find it. And I would like to get a copy of that. I wasn't able to find it on the website. Maybe, maybe I'm not expert enough at finding it, but I would like to get an updated one if there is one
Okay,
prior
I've got
to the
you.
Board of County Commission meeting.
Yes, and for the record, it is published on our website under agendas. I can show you how to, if you'd like, I can show you how to navigate that page.
We,
I got to the agenda, but I couldn't find
So
this.
we're in public comment, so we need to keep talking because you have 3 minutes.
Well, I mean, I could not find a September version of the rezoning. I did go to I clicked the link to the agenda and I couldn't find it. And it could be my fault, but I would like to make sure that I have a copy before the Board of County Commission meeting. That's all I have, thank you.
thank you. Wanda Treba, she left. Does anybody else want to speak on NPH 3? Seeing none, back to the board. Not yet. Let's have our final questions and deliberations. I didn't say motion. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add to this? Yeah. Again, we don't have control over setting the agenda when it goes to anybody, including to us. So requesting that it be moved is not something that this board has any power whatsoever. Please, you already spoke. Seeing that, I'll take a motion.
I'll motion to accept NPH 3.
I pass the gavel, let it show, and I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve staff's recommendation for approval. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. Motion
Two.
passes 2-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. It's up to you, sir.
Pete, what'd you say?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, while we're transitioning, I just wanted to clarify, because the public speaker mentioned her comments that she said here today being given to the board. The comments that you make at this meeting are not given to the board at their board meeting on Tuesday. You have to make your public comment on Tuesday. If you provide written comment, that would be given to the board, just to clarify that.
Okay. Moving on, NPH 4, Land Development Regulation 2403, Article 3, Zoning Districts. This is a request for an amendment to Article 3, Zoning Districts, Land Development Regulations, Martin County Code. The proposed changes effective Division 1, Section 3.3, Glossary of Terms, Division 2, Section 3.10, District Purposes, 3.11, Permitted Uses, 3.12, Development Standards, Division 3 Standards for Specific Uses, and Division 7 Category Z Zoning Standards. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Peter Walden, Deputy Growth Management Director. This is a request for a zoning LDR change. It has been properly noticed. And my goal tonight is to explain what Category C districts are, how they came about, and to explain why we need to consolidate them into the rest of Article 3. Chapter 33 was the county's first zoning code. It was adopted in 1967. To give some context, at the time, Martin County did not have a comprehensive plan. There was only about 25,000 people in the county. I-95 was still 20 years away, and the Roosevelt Bridge was a brand-new bridge, but it was the old drawbridge.
But the railroad bridge was still old.
Yes, that's true.
And counting.
Yes. Okay, so a little brief history on how the codes changed and how we got to getting categories A, B, and C. And so I explained that Chapter 33 was the first code. It was adopted in '67. In 1974, PUD zoning was introduced. In 1986, Chapter 35 was the first code adopted that had Category A zoning districts in it. And those were intended to implement the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 1982. When it was adopted, it was intended to do away with the existing code, the existing 33 code, but there was no impetus to get that done, so they ended up just carrying through with that code. In 1995, the first Article 3 code was adopted, and it combined Category A zoning districts with the Chapter 35. And again, the county was going to rezone countywide, but it did not happen. And then we ended up with the Article 3 that we currently have in 2002. So it's been adopted for about 22, 23 years now. And with that, they, again, did not rezone. So what happened was that the existing single-family zoning districts that were developed under the 67 code were set aside as Category B districts. All of the other existing Category C, 67 code districts were set aside. All the commercial, industrial, and agricultural districts were set aside as Category C districts. So basically, you ended up with our modern code of 2002 with Category A districts that are intended to implement the comprehensive plan. And these other ones, Category Bs, don't really have a land use applicable to them. And they assigned applicable land uses to the old Article 3, to the old Category C zoning districts. So that leaves us today, we have 75-plus zoning districts. Included with that, and in addition to that, we have 6 CRA districts under Article 12. We also have an article of zoning for 11, which is for the Newfield project. We have about 150 PUDs in the county to add to that. And along with that, we have these items that were done in the 90s called covenants. And throughout the 90s, because of the fact that they did not rezone anything when they did these new zoning codes, they allowed people to develop with a Category A zoning district without rezoning, with the fact that someday that the county might do a county-wide rezoning. So there's about 500 parcels out there that were developed as Category A's, but still have Category C zoning districts on them. So the challenges are, it gets pretty complicated trying to navigate all of that. Staff time is spent trying to go back through Category C zoning districts, covenants, trying to determine what applies, what doesn't apply, what applies to Article 3, what applies to the old Category C zoning districts. There's a lot of gray areas in all of that because the 1967 code is all written out in sentence form, so sometimes the words get in the way. It's not the charts of permitted uses and development standards that are in the Article 3. So there's a lot of mistakes that can happen. There's a lot of confusion. People, when we first tell them you have a Category C zoning district, they're like, well, that still passes, right? They don't even understand really what we're trying to say to them. So there is a lot of work that has to be done every day through our staff to answer these questions just because of the myriad of zoning districts that we have. So Category C zoning districts still have the same terms and definitions from 1967. And they have what was assigned to them as consistent land uses. But that was only after the comprehensive plan came along and we created a future land use map. So they may or may not have those consistent, they may not be consistent with the land use that was assigned to them. So you see a lot of mandatory rezonings coming before the board. Those are the ones where you have a Category C, it was given a land use, but it's not consistent. Somebody wanted to develop the property, they have to rezone. So, and all of their development standards and setbacks are all just with the Category C, and they do not relate to the Article 3 zoning districts. So to try to kind of help the situation a little bit, we decided to try and incorporate it into the Article 3. And to do that, we had to open up Division 1, General Provisions, Division 2, the Standard Zoning Districts, and Division 3, Standards for Specific Uses of the Article 3 Code. And to go into that, I'm going to show what we did with the actual code itself. Basically, to do that, we started out with eliminating Division 7, which is about 60 pages of code. It's all written out. It all has its own applicability. As you can see in these charts, the old Category C zoning districts were given a future land use designations. Like I said, they may or may not be consistent with that. This column over here is just basically lists of prohibited uses that go along with that zoning code, which is kind of a redundant thing. Now we have permitted use charts. If it's not listed as a permitted use, obviously it's not allowed. So this is that section. This will all get crossed out because we've devised a way to incorporate all of that into the rest of the code. The next part of it to cross out was the terms and definitions. There's a lot of 1967 terms that are very specific. Our code today has terms that are more broad-based and more towards our permitted uses. So we're going to get rid of some of these old things like barbecue pit and barbecue stand that seemed to be very important at the time.
It is the South.
Yes, so, but, now we have convenience restaurant and restaurant general, those types of things, and, boarding house, a rooming house where meals are served. I mean, it goes back in time, so.
We may get back to that.
Well, let's hope not. So, a lot of these, a lot of the relative terms that have been adopted in the last 20 years are already, they were already copied to the Category C, so they would be across all the zoning districts. So a lot of them are redundant, and we didn't have to do anything with them. So, just wanted to make that clear. And we didn't take any terms or definitions out there that would be relative to any permitted uses. So, let me move on down through here. Okay, so the next part of it, it actually goes into some of the actual districts themselves. And unlike the Article 3, where you have charts and graphs to show what's permitted and what isn't, these actually write out everything that is specific to these districts. And again, that gets to be problematic because these are very specific. I mean, you see in R3A liberal, it's got beauty parlors and barber shops and dry cleaning and laundry instead of just retail commercial or limited commercial, those types of broader things, but it does list retail stores. The other thing that the old code does is it has a tiering of the permitted uses. So you can look at this and it says any permitted uses in the R3, multiple family residential district. Okay, so to check to make sure that something is permitted in the R3A, now you have to go back to the R3 and look at that. So when you get back to the R3, oh, okay, so any use is permitted in the HR1, R1, R1A, R1B, R2, R2B, R2A. You get what I'm saying? So then staff has to basically go back and decipher, read through all of these to see if a permitted use is allowed in any of those. And the other problem is that a lot of these tier back to a Category B zoning district, which is linked to Article 3. So therefore is the gray area is now, do you apply Article 3 zoning criteria to this or not? Because the permitted use tiers back to that, but it's in the Category C. So that is one of the headaches that we're going, and I'll show you what we did to try to alleviate some of those issues. So that's a long section of code, and it also writes out all of the development standards as well, instead of just having those in the chart. You can see how the words are out for rear yard, side yard setbacks, instead of just having them in a chart form. You have to read through it. Not all the words are consistent through the code. Sometimes they write different things for yards and setbacks that have different meanings that get a little gray in areas. So it gets confusing with that as well. I'll try and skip through this to get down to the next section. Let me see.
You're just trying to put people like Bob Raines out of business, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying to, it's been a long time coming. We've talked about this for years as far as a way to incorporate these. So the first thing we did is we went into Part 2 of the ordinances, Section 3.3 of Division 1, and that's the current glossary of terms. We did add a few things that were in the Category Cs that we felt were appropriate, but most of these, since they're broader terms, already capture the specific terms that were in the Category Cs. So there was one change that we did make for consistency throughout the LDRs and the comp plan, was to eliminate guest house as a use, because the comprehensive plan calls it an accessory dwelling unit, and so does the CRAs, and so does most of everything in the codes. And a guest house has a very antiquated use where basically relates that you can only use it for family and extended for short periods of time, which can't be regulated.
As opposed to a boarding house.
Right.
Or a golf course.
So,
Excuse me. So,
do any of the LDRs change, though? I mean,
no, we're not adding or deleting any permitted uses. All the development standards are staying the same. We're just reincorporating them into Article 3 to make it an easier system to use. And the only changes that we're making are, I'll explain to you, and the biggest one is just eliminating guest house and calling it an ADU. So this is where that takes place right here. This is the exact definition that comes out of Chapter 2 and is used throughout Chapter 4 in all the residential districts. So that's your big change. There's a couple other little things in here. There's getting rid of the guest house. But the rest of it is minor things and updating things to where they're found in the code. I didn't have any other changes for that. So that gets through Division 1. The next part is, Part 3 is the district purposes. You'll see that this was developed when Article 3 was adopted because those zoning districts had a district purpose of implement the policies of the future land use map. So AG 20A is for general agricultural and so on through agricultural ranchette as AR 5A. It's pretty straightforward. And that goes throughout all the category A's and then explains where they are in the future land use. Now category B's, like I said, they don't really have a future land use. But fortunately, they're all old single-family subdivisions that are built out in multiple ownership, probably will never be redeveloped, so we don't see any site plan applications or anything, so it's never really been a big issue that all the Category B districts out there don't have a future land use that's consistent with them. So what we're doing is we've taken that chart from Category C's and just adding to this area of the chart, and here's your Category C districts. These are the consistent future land uses that were assigned to it when this was originally adopted. Like I said, it's not always consistent with what's out there on the zoning atlas and the future land use map, but we're not changing anything for anybody at this point. The one change we are going to make, or requesting to make, is that currently if you have a covenant on a piece of property and you developed as a Category A, you have to rezone if you want a site plan. We'd like to make it so if you have a Category C district and you want to do a site plan application, you need to rezone to a Category A, so we can start cleaning up the zoning atlas. So maybe in 20 or 30 years from now, we'll have a couple hundred of the Category Cs off the map, and we won't be talking about this so much.
So if you have a covenant, I'm just not clear what you're going to do with the covenanted houses or properties.
Right. Most of them are commercial and industrial properties. So in the US 1 corridor is full of them, everywhere from Jensen Beach all the way south.
Pretty much anything done in the 90s.
Right, right. So if you had a B1, say a business district, Category C, you could develop as a general commercial Category A district just by filing that covenant and getting that recorded. Nothing else took place, nothing else happened, but your site plan was developed with the general commercial criteria. There's about 500 of those out there in existence right now.
But you wouldn't do that automatically, they'd have to ask for it, correct?
Right, that would be what we consider the mandatory rezoning. It's a reduced price, it's just something you would do to follow through with your site plan application. And it's only for site plan applications. If somebody wants to do a single-family home, something that's exempt from Article 10, building permits, that type of thing, that's not the case. So it's only if you want to redevelop. So.
Is it consistent enough that you could actually put an overlay over that and redesignate it?
If there's some appetite for that in the future, that the board wanted to start looking at some of the covenant projects and actually rezone them, there is a possibility of that. But it would have to be in conjunction with the the owners of the property.
Otherwise, you run into a problem with rights.
Right, and there never really has been an appetite for that. That's why we've had 3 different zoning codes, and nothing is ever done with the zoning atlas.
That would be planning.
Base.
So the next section, I only got a couple more, is section 3.11, that's permitted uses. This is a typical permitted use table. It's the exact same permitted uses in the rest of Article 3 code for residential, commercial, agricultural. These are all the Category C zoning districts available, so that goes from residential to agricultural to business to industrial. And you can see how we basically went through all the Category Cs, all the tiering down and everything else, and qualified it over here into this permitted use table. So we didn't change any permitted uses. We tried not to change any. We didn't add any to any of the districts. We tried to keep it as consistent with the old code as possible. There was some ambiguity on sometimes because some of these old permitted uses, we had to determine how they fell into the common uses today. But I think we did a pretty good job. So that is basically all that is there's your permitted use table. The next part of it is the development standards. Here's table 3.12. You have your Category A zoning districts. You have your minimum lot area, lot width, density, building coverage, open space. All of that is in a table form. It's very straightforward, very easy to read. Here's your Category B districts. They've always been part of Article 3, same criteria. Now we just added Category Cs. We went through and got all the development standards out of the old code and added them to 3.12. So it's all in one place. No longer do you have to decipher through the words. We've kind of did that homework for everybody, and we got it all incorporated into the code. So, and we had to add a couple footnotes there because some of the words stretched beyond what a simple graph would do for us. So the same thing with structure setbacks. You got the front, rear, side setback for the Category A's, Category B's, and now you got the Category C's. So now the public or anybody looking at their zoning district knows that they just go to one area for their development criteria. So that's basically it. That's what we're asking for tonight, and we'd like to LPA's stamp of approval so we can go to the board next week and explain it to them.
It's going to be a hell of a meeting.
So
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
There aren't any members of the public here left anymore. I don't have any
None?
observations that I haven't already made. I'd move for staff's approval.
Did I get a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Passes.
You could have titled that "Less is More."
Okay, I'll remember that. Thank you all.
So are all setbacks measured from the same place as they were in Category A?
Yes, you have front, rear, and
Consider
side setbacks.
Yeah.
Yep, and there's also some areas that were platted after 1986 still have the center line of the road setbacks as well. Yep.
Mr. Chair, may I, Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director, for the record. So I just want to acknowledge Peter's efforts in this. This is one of our objectives, has been to refine our zoning code and identify issues that we can address with respect to efficiencies and providing more efficient information to the public. And not only this benefits our staff, we spend an inordinate amount of time discussing at times the Category C districts, and I think a lot of people acknowledge that. But this is a huge undertaking, and I just want to acknowledge Peter's efforts in this. He's done a great job with it, and I just wanted to point that out, that it provides, and also Mr. Doolin, the efficiencies with both staff and the public. So.
And Peter must have a great team behind him, because I think Peter's like me. We're not sitting behind the computer punching all that paperwork out.
That's right. I have a great development review team behind me, and that allows me to spend some time on these things to help everything out, so.
All right,
Well
now that
done.
we finish the Mutual
Okay.
Declaration Society.
I'm good, thank you.
Do you want to say anything, Paul, like
Please.
dates?
Yes, so we have several applications for October 3rd, which will be our next meeting. And I also wanted to take an opportunity, if I may, with respect to application materials getting to you, I take responsibility of that. We're going to do better. I'll see to that. But we did have 2 meetings back to back, so that
No, I
obviously
get it.
complicated things.
And, I mean, I guess part of my problem was I wasn't aware that the early September meeting was being kicked, forward, and that jammed you up, obviously. But, it's getting harder to read more things in less than a week.
Sure.
And this is the kind of thing that really needs as much attention as possible.
Understood.
And you want us to say whether we're going to be here on October 3rd?
That would be fantastic.
I will be here on October 3rd.
You will. I intend to be.
And I don't know about anyone else.
Thank you very much.
All right, if there's nothing else, this meeting's adjourned.